Good afternoon and hello, everyone. My name is Rich Longo, and I'll be your host. Thank you for joining us for another Flycast Partners webinar. Today's presentation is in regards to controlling your workload automation, presented by none other than our very own Bobby McCullough. Bobby has been in the IT industry for well over 20 plus years and started with Flycast Partners to help us expand our reach into the digital transformation. He has been involved in the implementation of multiple tools for a major multinational financial organization, a software engineer for the USPS, ITIL V3 and Scrum certified with an experience in ITSM, ITFM, ITAM, and digital transformation. Before we get started, Bobby, let me introduce our organization. Flycast Partners is here to deliver a seriously amazing IT experience. We are founded and staffed by personnel that have many years of experience in the IT space. We took the best ideas from these collective experiences and we rolled them all together and added best components necessary to grow and become a leading value-added reseller in the North American IT market. We offer best-in-class implementation services and training in ITSM, ITAM, ESM, workload automation, capacity optimization, and many more, all using ITIL best practices. Our professional services can easily scale up or down to meet the IT needs of any organization, regardless of size, complexity, or budgetary restrictions. We offer implementation services both on-site and remote, as well as training to help your company's long-term IT success. Our ongoing remote administration and support service offerings will enable your organization to focus on those normal day-to-day operations, saving you both precious time and money. I encourage you to reach out to us directly at 844-FLYCAST, that's 844-359-2278, or visit our website at www.flycastpartners.com. Our website is a wealth of information. You can go to our training center and look at the variety of training courses that we offer here at Flycast Partners that you can actually buy online. We also offer a variety of different webinar topics that are coming up over the next several months. I encourage you to take a look. Pick a webinar topic, share it with your coworkers or your friends, or if you're looking for new technologies or additional technologies or additional training or need some help with your processes, by all means, access our website, download white papers, take a look at data sheets, and we encourage you to reach out to us in our chat window, and one of our ITSM specialists will speak with you one-on-one live. With that being said, at today's presentation, I want to encourage you to send us your questions, and at the end of the presentation, Bobby will try and answer as many of those questions as he can for the amount of time that we have allotted. So if you'll go to the Q&A section of this WebEx, type the questions in and I'll read them off to Bobby. Even if you have questions during the presentation, go ahead and type them in and we'll go from there, but we'll try and answer as many questions at the end as we possibly can. Now, with all that being said, Bobby, I'm going to turn this over to you. It looks like we've got your screen up. We can see Control M9.
Great. Thank you, Rich, very much.
Yeah.
I think Ryan Pugh wanted to say a few words before I got started. Everyone, Ryan Pugh is our workload automation account manager. Ryan, if you'd tell them a little bit about yourself and what you wanted to say this morning.
Yeah, and folks, we just want to say thank you for joining. I won't take up much of your time because the bulk of this is really to learn about the tool. And, as you guys are exploring workload automation tools, one thing to just keep in mind is as a partner organization, we have the ability to look at vendors across the country that are in the same space. And one of the reasons that we have chosen BMC's Control M and really focus and double down on it is because of its capabilities across platforms, across applications. It truly is a unified solution. So if you have a mainframe environment, distributed environment, or cloud, it can truly integrate across all those with one unified solution, one single pane of glass. Bobby will absolutely show that. And with that said, again, I will encourage your questions. We welcome them, and we appreciate your time.
Great. Thank you, Ryan. So today we're going to talk about controlling your workload automation. And just like Ryan said, you know, your workloads run across a disparate silos with mainframe jobs, distributed network jobs, things in the public cloud, private cloud. So that's a very diverse data set of workload jobs that need to be managed. And so how do you control that? How do you manage that? Well, first of all, visibility is control. And that's really the first thing that Control M is going to provide. It provides your organization visibility into the entire enterprise, because Control M can manage across distributed, mainframe, various cloud networks, and so on. It can be deployed enterprise-wide. That enterprise-wide view gives you a complete view of what's going on with your workload automation. It's also going to be able to provide real-time and historical stats at the touch of a finger. So when you log into the system, it can notify you immediately of any issues that are going on. As you look at things like here, we're looking at our service monitor. I see right away about where my jobs are, how they are progressing along, how much is left, are they okay, is something running late. So it's real-time and historical stats right there at the touch of your fingertips. Tool's also going to allow you to do forecasting. I'll show you a bit of that once we get over into the tool. But it'll allow you to do some forecasting. So it takes the history of the job and how it's run over time, and it can forecast that out so that if you've got a job that's taking longer and longer over time, it can give you an idea of when that job is going to take too long based on the parameters that you've provided. The tool is going to allow you to do little things like provide names to your services. So, you know, if someone calls in with their job XQ49 isn't working, there might be documented somewhere. But really, if it's a logical name that everyone understands, in this case, universal billing, everybody knows what that is. There's no translation that has to go on. And so that's very helpful as your organization grows and more and more job elements are brought into the tool to allow you to have that visibility. So we talked about visibility enterprise-wide. It truly is. It's the system will allow you to create jobs for distributed networks, mainframe networks, your ERP applications, your cloud deployments, your big data systems, Hadoop, and so on. So it really can cover the gamut of what your organization may need to manage from a workload automation standpoint. If it doesn't have something automatically built, then that's it has a very simple interface for creating those integrations with those other tools. So very well-rounded, agile application that allows you to deploy it in a wide variety of locations. Simple, so it's going to provide a consistent interface. You'll see this again when we jump over into the tool. A simple, consistent interface that's easy to understand, and that interface is consistent whether it's an end-user self-service portal or maybe a DevOps type portal or the back-office administrators using the system. So you've got all this information, got all this visibility, different groups that might want to access it. The first thing that you're going to need is tools to be able to access that system. Control M provides that with mobile applications that you can run on your device, your mobile device, your pads, tablets. It will also run through browsers as well. Now, talking about being enterprise-wide, we do have a portal for DevOps. So DevOps is key for workload automation. They're heavily invested and involved in any organization's workload automation. But they have some unique requirements, and so we can provide them this standard user interface that's consistent with the other user interfaces, but they can also provide jobs as code. So if they're more comfortable in their DevOps world with the code rather than a nice GUI interface, we can accept that as well through JSON files and load those into the tool as well. Audit and compliance, that's another key with controlling your workload automation, is understanding the history of when those jobs ran, what was the effect of those jobs, what was the outcome of those jobs, and understanding that. The tool is going to provide that through its logging and statistics capabilities, as well as its archiving, and I'll show you that when we jump over into the tool. So let's jump over real quick, and I want to start with our self-service environment. So this would be the system that your customer users might log in and access. They're only going to see what you want them to see. You've got complete control over the security around this. So they'll only see those jobs and workflows that you've defined for them to have access to. They'll be able to order jobs if you want to allow that. They'll only be able to order those jobs you've defined for them to be able to run, as well as searching the archive. They'll be able to search those jobs and workflows that are available to them. They'll be able to search in through the archive history and find those jobs and review stats and logs from those. Everything in the system is color-coded. Green is good, red is bad. And there's more colors. We'll see those in just a minute. Let's dive into one of our workflows here. This is a simple document backup workflow. Everything's green, so we can see that everything worked well. There were no problems with this. I can see with each job when it started and ended. If I select a particular job, I can find some detailed stats about that job, who ran it or who it ran as, where it ran, the log information about that job, and so on. If there was any output or stats, I can see all of that information. That's a lot more interesting, though, if we look over here at our red workflow. This is an order shipment job. If I select it, I'm going to zoom in a bit to make it a little easier for you to see. We zoom in there, we can see that the folder itself, and I'll explain the organization of these folders and jobs here in a bit, but the folder itself is yellow, telling us it's waiting. And we've got a retrieve shipment job here that failed. And if I select that job, I can go to the log and look at exactly what happened. Ended not okay. An alert was sent to our EM system. But what did it output? What happened when we ran this job? So the job is trying to copy a file, and the system could not find the file specified. So the very reason for this being red is right there on the screen for me. It's a couple of clicks, look at the log, look at the output, and I could see what was going on with that particular job. Through the tool, any of these, again, our general information about the jobs, our statistics about the jobs, how it's running over time, if there's any other scripts or anything involved with the job, we can see that kind of information here as well. We can set actions on these jobs. Again, this is all user configurable. You can define which of these actions your users can do. If it's in a view-only mode, or can they hold jobs, rerun jobs, set jobs to OK. If I set this job to OK, then this will go ahead and come out of the waiting state, and we'll go on and run these other jobs. So very, very powerful tool. Good information here at your fingertips. The dashboard here, it shows us right away some problems with our order shipment workflow. So very, very helpful to your end users. Primarily, this will avoid them calling you with questions. They'll be able to answer those questions themselves from just logging into the tool and taking a look. So let's go over now and let's take a look at our Control M itself. This is the application, and your workload automation staff would have access to this application. The application is divided into domains. Right now we're in the planning domain, and this is where we can look at what's out in the system available, sort of the library of workflows and jobs. We can look at those and understand what's going on. Here I can see my retrieve shipment job, and I can look at my details on it. But I'm limited in what I can do here until this workspace is checked out. That keeps us from stepping over each other and allows us to have an orderly change process around any of these workflows or jobs that we might be working on. While we're in here, we can validate a job once it's checked out, make sure that our changes were good. You also may have a need to promote jobs. So as you go through and create workflows and jobs for your organization, you're going to start those out probably in a test development environment, and then you might move them to a testing environment, and then move them to finally into your production environment. Well, with workload, that can be real troublesome because you're changing connections within those jobs and workflows because you're changing systems you're running on, and so that can really cause you some problems. Control M helps solve that by providing the ability to promote these jobs so that you can define that development environment, that test environment, and production environment, so that when you check a workspace out, a workflow out, and are completed with your changes, you can promote it to the next logical session. Is it production now? Is it ready for production, or is it ready for testing? And that way, it avoids any of the issues that come along with changing those connections into the system. The workloads are very easy to change. I'm going to go ahead and check this one out. And so this is a device. This is a Control M system. This is a folder on the Control M system. In your environment, there could be reasons for you having multiple Control M systems. You could be multinational or nationwide and have more than one data center or workload automation group. So it might be there might be a reason to have multiple configuration managers, which we've got here. Within that configuration manager, I'm looking at my distribution center folder. The folder contains the jobs for the workflow. The folder has a naming convention. So I can provide logical names to those folders. I can also apply site standards. Here I've got a demo site standard, and no, this is flashing. So this is telling me that I'm missing something from my demo site standard. I need to change this name to make it comply with this standard. So very helpful validation against my system, against my naming conventions. So within any of these jobs, we've got a potential to relate it to the next job. So what happens when this job completes? So if it completes okay, it just goes on and runs the next one. If it doesn't complete okay, what do? Do we send an alert somewhere? Do we create a ticket in the system? All of that can be defined within the tool. What you want the system to do, prerequisites before it runs, things that have to have occurred or exist before it runs, the existence of a file that needs to be processed, or the job can only run after 10 o'clock at night, regardless of when it's requested. And so you might have a precondition of it being 10 p.m. Before this job can run. So all of that can be defined, as well as the relationships to the next jobs in the system. The jobs can be lots of different types of things. It might be, you know, an OS job, a batch or script that you're running in an operating system, maybe something on your Hadoop for your big data, maybe in your SAP or PeopleSoft ERP systems, your VMware, any of those types of things. You're able to create these jobs and create those relationships within the system. There's an important job here, though, that I want to spend a little bit of time on. This is our Batch Impact Manager job, and this is key. This is something that's unique to Control M, and something that you probably don't have in your workload automation solutions today. This is sort of a timing job. It really isn't a job that's going to run. There's really nothing that's going to happen with this. My Distribution Center 24 job is really retrieving a shipment and copying a shipment. But what Batch Impact Manager does, it allows me to define the timing parameters within which this job should run. So it allows me to define when this job should complete, and what's my tolerance for it not completing on time. My tolerance for it being too low, running too long, or ending too quickly. So I'm able to define those things and report on that and forecast on that and notify you on that as well. So that takes us over to that monitoring screen that we were looking at. This is having that Batch Impact Manager job in there is what allows me to know that my order shipment job here is running late. That Batch Impact Manager has a deadline on how quickly the job has to run, and it has all the other attributes that any of our other jobs could have, scheduling on when that particular check is going to occur, what are the conditions that are required for that check to occur, and then actions. What do we do if it's early? What do we do if it's late? You know, how do we handle what's going on with that job? So I hope that made sense. That's really the sort of our planning domain. I jumped over from here though to our monitoring domain, and this is where you can see how things are running, understand what's going on in your entire system. Here I can see that my document backup seems to be going okay. My order shipment though here, it looks like there's some problems. If I click into it and go into my problematic jobs, I can see my retrieve shipment ended with failure. I can see that my copy shipment should have started but won't because the retrieve shipment failed, and so it's in a wait condition. Again, lots of ways to see some of this. This is some of the same information that we've seen on in these other screens. There's other ways to go in and look at it. I'm going to open my analysis viewpoint so we can go in and see sort of the detail behind that. So I know, again, what system it's on, what folders it's in, and what jobs. If I select that particular job, I get some details about it. I know that it's not okay, it was late or failed. I can dive into the details again, look at my output. System could not find the file that's specified. So good information here, visibility into your monitoring, into your enterprise-wide monitoring. When these issues come up, you're alerted. Here I've got an icon in my application that tells me here in the bottom corner that some alerts need attention. This is my alerts screen. So I've got some very urgent issues, normal issues, and so on. You can be notified several different ways. The tool will output to a shout table So you can notify through the application. You can notify through email, create tickets, incident tickets, however you need that to happen. So let's talk a bit about forecasting. So forecasting is very, very simple in the system. We want to see how one of my jobs is going to run on the last day of the month. Let's look at that distribution center job. So we'll tell it to open. So it takes just a second. It goes out. It's looking at how that job has been running and what's been happening with it, and it forecasts what's going to happen with it on that date. And so I could see right here that this job is in a critical path of a service that we've defined with this batch impact manager, and I can see right away that it's going to be late. I know there's some issues with this that are going to cause it to be late. We can go back and let's look at our laptop maintenance for that same date. So laptop maintenance looks like it may be a little late as well. So both of our primary jobs on those dates look like they're going to run a little bit late. So we've got the ability to define what-if scenarios. So what if we run the job a little bit earlier? We change the time frame for the job. Will that allow us to complete the job on time and for it not to be late? This forecasting is where you're able to go in and look at how your system resources are being utilized and how the system will use those going forward. Are there resources that are going to be involved on this date that might not be available? So we've got a server that's going to be down for maintenance. I can come in, open up this forecasting for that particular workflow, add a what-if scenario for that job, for that resource, and understand what's going to happen with that workflow over that time. We've got the ability to see history. So history is our what's been going on for any particular date. Because this is enterprise-wide, this is kind of important here. You've got a wider view of the tool because this really could be lots and lots of jobs. Now I told it to expand all, so it popped everything out there. But really the ones that we need are the red, so we could just expand the red. And again, you've got that view, a quick color touch point of what's going on, what's happening in the system with that particular workflow. So I'm sorry, it's popped up on my other screen here, guys. Tell it to search. There we go. So here we're looking at our archive, our historical view of the jobs that have run, and this is your ability to report back what's been going on historically, what's archived in the system. This data is necessary for a lot of times for audit and compliance purposes. So you can always go in here. You can define how long this information is going to be stored in the system, and then go in and retrieve it as needed. It can also be exported so that you can put it in a CSV file so you can transfer that to someone if that needs to happen from that perspective as well. But again, it's a complete view of this. If I go into this job, I can view my details, and here I've got the general information about the job. I've got my log and my output again. It's very, very helpful for helping close that loop on that workflow, closing the loop on those jobs so that you know what it's doing today and what it did yesterday. I want to spend just a minute here in the configuration manager. And this is sort of the administration part of the tool. This isn't a day-to-day area that you would be in. This is where we define things like how long are we going to keep those archives and things like that. This is also where we can do things. We can set up our security, who's going to be able to get into the system, what they're going to be able to do once they get into the system. And this can be linked in with your SSLs at your organizations. High availability, that's key for workload automation. So Control M provides the ability for you to define high availability failovers. So you've got your primary system and your secondary system, and the tool is seamless. So you define those primary and secondaries, and you need to fall back to secondary or fall over to secondary. The system will do it automatically, very easy to test it, and it moves all that information or the active use of the law of the jobs and workflows over to that secondary or other instance, and then very easy to switch it back. It's just another click of a button to take it right back over to that other system. So Control M really is a wide-ranging workload automation tool. It is one of BMC's oldest tools. It is their it gets 25% of the money from that tool goes back into the development of the tool, and so that's how we've seen things like workload archiving, the self-service mobile app, managed file transfers. That's something that's really important. You need to do secure file transfers either within your organization or from your organization to an external entity. And Control M provides the tool to be able to do that, to be able to do workload conversion, so that Control M is the leader in this market. And so it's key for us to be able to convert other workload tools to Control M. And so we provide that. JCL Verify over on your mainframe, being able to run those jobs and understand what's going on with those jobs out on your mainframe. There's lots of development. It's continuing. It's a wide-ranging tool that's only getting larger. So the benefits: jobs can be viewed from a user's perspective. This is going to help you on your help desk. It allows you to simplify job creation and change management. You get historical and predictive analytics, so you understand what's happened and what will happen, and the full ability to audit what's going on within your workload automation organization. Workload Control M is a very good cost-saving tool because of the visibility and control that it provides, bringing all the different types of workload automation in within the tool, allowing organizations to have that single pane of glass to see what's going on within their entire enterprise, and have what you need to understand what's going on today, what happened yesterday and what's going to happen tomorrow. So, Rich, that's all I had prepared today. Do we have any questions?
I do not have any questions. Yeah, I don't have any questions here. Folks, if you have questions, go ahead and put them in the Q&A section of this WebEx, and Bobby will take some time to answer. And if you don't want to have Bobby answer your questions directly live today, you can also email them to us at info@flycastpartners.com or call us at 844-FLYCAST, which is 844-359-2278. But let's take advantage of the fact that we've got some of Bobby's time today. So if anybody has any questions, go ahead and type those in there, and he'll be more than happy to answer. Bobby, great presentation. I do appreciate your time today. And Ryan, thank you for joining us as well. It doesn't look like we have any questions, so we'll go ahead and call it a wrap for the day. Nice presentation. Those of you that did join us today, we want to thank you for your time as well and hope that you enjoy the rest of your week.